Chrysler here with Saturday Extravaganza, and today we're creating an interactive circle mini album. I have cut a few circles to the size of 6 inches, and I have here the Graphic 45 Communique collection, which I really like, and I'm going to bind the pages first because it will be much easier to work on the different mechanisms later. So I have here a piece of paper that I'm going to use my bind it all to create 3 holes. We're not going to, well, we're partly going to bind it with a bind it all, but I'm going to show you how to bind a circle page mini album. So this is the template that I'm going to use, and we have 3 holes. We only need 3 holes, so we're going to align the 3 holes on one edge of the circle so they will all fit closest to the edge that is possible, and then we're going to mark the straight line on the edge of the paper and cut. This would give us the straight edge that we need to create our holes. So I'm going to do this with all the other pages. I'm going to align them first in the direction that I want, so the binding will be exactly where I want it to be. And then I'm going to put the first page on top and cut all the pages underneath. Okay, so now we are ready to bind. We are not going to create the holes with the bind it all because that is basically impossible to align it properly. So what I'm going to do is take my template, the template that I created with the bind it all, and use that to mark the holes that I need. Align it to the middle, to the center, and then just mark the 3 holes, and I'm just going to punch them out with my crocodile. And this would be easy to, just thinking, I'm using the larger hole, okay? I can never remember the measurements of the 2 holes of the crocodile, but just use the larger one. So just create the 3 holes like so. And now we're going to take a ring, not a ring, but the bind it all rings, and we're going to close the rings with the bind it all. So that's a partially bind it all binding. I've just arranged the pages, the order of the pages, and I'm just going to insert the rings. And of course, if you don't have the rings, you can just create 1 hole and bind the mini album with 1 ring if you want. I just like it like this. So this is going to be a rather complicated mini album with a lot of interactive mechanisms. So we're going to do this in 2 parts. So this is part 1, and the next week we're going to have part 2. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to start on the first page, which is the cover, and I'm basically using all the pretty patterns and embellishments, not embellishments, but images on the paper collection. And what I'm going to do is just cut out different elements that I like from the papers and just add them to the cover. Now, if you don't have this collection, don't worry. All the mechanisms in the mini album can be recreated with a completely different collection, papers, as long as they're double-sided cardstock. So I'm using the Graphic 45 because I really like this collection. And you can use the same collection or a different one. And I'm just working on embellishing the cover with different elements, And whenever I have something poking out of the border of my circle, I'm just cutting it out because I want the mini album to stay a circle and not have anything poking or peeking out of the border of the page. Love this collection. Has beautiful images, and it's all about communication and phones and letters and photos and cinema and cameras, and it has like a vintage vibe to it. I love it. So since it's all about phones, I'm just going to add a few numbers around the circle. Looks like an old-fashioned phone dial, which is basically the idea behind this whole collection, or partly anyway. Okay, let's go to our first page and create our first mechanism, which is going to be a pocket. Now they have this beautiful page that I'm going to cut across along the lines of the shapes, and then I'm going to create a pocket that has this edge. It's not going to have a straight edge. It's going to go on the left side here like so. We're first going to adhere it with some double-sided foam tape, and then we're going to cut whatever excess that we have. So I'm arranging the foam tape around the edges of the page. I'm cutting very narrow pieces. You can use, foam dots as well if you want. And then once I have my entire almost half of the page, the edge covered, then I can go ahead and add the pocket. Just gonna add one more here on this side, and then I'm just going to attach it like this. And now we can just trim around the circle and get rid of the excess. And the reason we have binded it before is that with a circle mini album, sometimes it's a little harder to imagine where the binding will go, and then we don't want to mess our interactive mechanisms by cutting or adding stuff where they shouldn't be. So I rather bind everything first and then add whatever I need. Okay, so let's create some inserts to put in our pocket. I'm cutting 3 pairs of squares that I have on one of the papers. Basically it's a rectangle. You should have 3 rectangles at the same size, and I'm just going to create a little book. And excuse me, since I already have the squares, it's like I already have pages that I don't need to add. So what I'm going to do is on the first pair, the first rectangle, I'm going to create a gusset. This is about 1/16 of an inch wide, and then I'm going to fold it, actually more 1/8 of an inch, and this is going to be the outside of my book. Then the inside I'm just folding in half, and the one that's going in between is going to have 1/16 of an inch gusset in the center. So what is happening here basically is that I'm creating room for all the pages to go together in form of a book, because if you just fold them and then add them together, they're not going to fit, because once you fold paper you increase its width basically, but when you create gussets it allows room for all the paper. So I'm going to adhere the edges here This is the regular fold, and then the 1/16 of an inch gusset, and then the 1/8 of an inch gusset. And then you have a really nice book that can go inside the pocket. Now I'm missing a little red on the outside of the pocket, so I'm just going to cut these squares in the diagonal way and add a little bit of red up there on my pocket. I think it's going to be prettier. I love the colors of this collection. They're really beautiful. Red and black and brown. And okay, so our book goes in there, a little book. And I'm just going to cut a row of 4 squares now. And then I'm just going to create an accordion with those squares. Again, if you don't use this collection, just create an accordion with any other cardstock, double-sided cardstock that you want. And I'm just going to fold it 2 edges to the inside and then fold it to the outside, and I'll have a perfect equal square accordion that opens to the top. So our first page is ready. For the second page, I've already gone ahead and created this. I took a circle and added the stickers like a phone dial, and then another circle and punched holes in the other circle to create a phone dial. The circle is 2 inches and 5/8, and I used a 1/2 inch circle punch. So I'm going to insert a brad through both circles. Just going to punch a little hole for the brad to go in. And the brad is going to be my access for turning, for turning the dial of the phone. And I'm just going to put this on the paper and just add glue around. Don't put glue on the brad because it needs room to turn. Because once you turn it, the brad turns with the circle, and the legs need place to move in there under the circle that you attach to the page. So that's our second page with the phone dial. For our third page, I'm just going to cut what is left of this page. Now basically what we have here is 4 squares, 2 rows of 4 squares, and then 1 row of 2 squares. Now basically you can create whatever square combination that you want and then create your insert. Now each square is 2 1/4 of an inch by 2 1/4 of an inch. So you basically, if you don't have this collection, you can just draw a grid like this on whatever paper you have and create the same thing. So I cut a slit on the left and folded the square to the right, and then I'm cutting from the right and again creating fold lines with my bone folder and folding this inward and then inward again. I'm going to go slow so you can rewind and watch it as many times as you want until you get it. Now I'm going to fold this entire thing upward like this. Okay, now I'm going to go from the top. This is how it goes. Now from the top, I'm going to cut this side here between the 2 squares and create a fold line. So this is going to go another fold line here between the 2 squares. So this is going to be folded to the left and then to the bottom and then to the right to close this. make sure to burnish your folds really tight. And all we have to do is close this to the right, and this one will also go inward, and then this one is going to go like an accordion fold. Now we have a little gap that I want to cover, so I'm just going to take a piece of cardstock with some letters, and then just attach it under the first flap here, so the square is going to be the same size as the square underneath. Because of all the folding, the top square became smaller. So this is going to go on the page here. Before that, I'm just going to add 2 images to the page so it will be nice and embellished with a little bit of red. And then this one, just put glue on the bottom and attach it to your page. So see, this is how it will open. This is really fun. The more folds you have, the more flaps you have, and they open to all different directions. Okay, so for our next page, we are going to create a band that can store things under it, sort of a belt. And I'm just going to cut a quote that is on the page. If you don't have a quote or you're using a different collection, just cut 1 inch width and 6 inch wide, and this would be your band. I'm going to show you how to attach it. Just have to create straight edges here. It's going to go about here. So what I'm going to do is take my foam tape and add 2 pieces, 1 on each side where it's supposed to go on the page. And then I'm just going to attach it, and this will hold whatever insert I put under it. So I'm just going to attach this and cut any excess that I have. Okay, so now let's create our insert. There is these squares on one of the pages that I cut 2 of them together so I can fold them to create an insert, and it's a little bit too big, so I'm just gonna reduce the size a little bit. It's a 4x6 shape, but I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. I'm gonna take off about 1/8 of an inch from each side, or even less. Okay, this is gonna go like this underneath. So what I want to do next is create the same mechanism on the top of my insert. So I'm just gonna cut a word out of the paper that I have here. Again, if you don't have this collection, just cut a strap of paper about 1/2 inch wide and just see what width of the insert you have, and that's the width of your strip of paper. And we're going to use the same principle of putting 2 pieces of foam tape, 1 on each side, and then just add your strip of paper. I have a little bit of excess that I need to trim. And then we're going to have inserts going on the insert. This is not straight, so I'm just going to straighten that out. Okay, so the insert that is going to go in the insert are just squares that I cut. You can use photos or whatever tags that you want. I'm just did an accordion fold on this one. Again, these are squares from the paper and just another square that goes in there. Okay, so these are our first 3 pages. I hope you liked it and that you're going to join us next week to continue our mini album. Thanks for watching. Please visit my website annatkessler.com and check out the new VIP room, a monthly creative club you can join on the website. See you all next time.